In less than a year, Nigerians will head to the polls in what many see as a pivotal moment for the country's democracy and future direction. With economic pressures mounting, security concerns lingering, and calls for governance reform growing louder, the stakes are high. For the opposition ADC coalition, this is a defining moment to convince Nigerians it can emerge as a formidable force in 2027. However, without a clear flag bearer or central figure to rally around, that task may prove challenging. The coalition has attracted several political heavyweights, many of whom are reportedly jostling for the coveted presidential ticket. There are already reports of a bloc within the party backing former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi. Meanwhile, despite it being signed into law last month, the Electoral Act 2026 continues to dominate conversations and has drawn criticism from opposition figures, including voices within the ADC. Well, I'm now joined in the studio by the Assistant National Chairman of the African Democratic Congress, Honorable Usani. Usani, glad to have you join me.
My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, aside of the, even before I start reading all that, I just said, before I get into other things, I just said that you have a very, or the party seems to have a challenge, a very huge challenge. And you said something, you want to reply to that, my statement, concerning who should Nigerians look up to or rally around as your flag bearer is apparently not clear now.
To expect me to narrow down to a personality will in itself be anti-democratic. On moral grounds, on account of the fact that I am an officer of the party, I shouldn't take a bias. And the second reason, we know we are awaiting a process. And my comments found to be skewed can in themselves also affect the outcome of what we expect to be very objective and transparent. So at this moment, we have 3 people who have indicated interest to run the presidential race with any other party. And so it's normal in internal democracy of a partisan organization like a party. The ADC is not an exception. You will also recall that there were these anxieties in 2014-15 when we had 4 in the APC then where I belonged. The anxieties were all over. Is it Atiku, is it Kwakwanso, is it Rochas Okorocha, is it Buhari? But as soon as Buhari emerged, there was tranquil accord for everybody to participate and make sure victory was obtained. And of course, at the end of the day, the result spoke for itself. So at this moment, we expect that everybody is lobbying around, carrying out whatever campaigns he can. But what I can guarantee is that the party ADC is on its heels to ensure that whatever we give to Nigerians is acceptable, because it will be predicated on openness, transparency, truth, and of course the accord of concord that will secure an acceptable outcome. And that is where we are.
Well, just for pedantic purposes, who are these candidates? Just to know.
All right. We have Peter Obi, we have Rotimi Amechi, we have Abubakar Atiku, or Atiku Abubakar.
3 of them.
Yeah.
And there are reports that ADC members of Southern extraction are rooting for Amechi, actually endorsing him. How true is that, and why so?
When you say Southern extraction in the polity of Nigeria, you're referring to any state that is outside the northern states.
Good.
And so that is not true.
Well, by South, the East, okay, and South.
Okay,
South,
just say
South.
That's
basically.
all right. Yeah, we had a confab, the leadership meeting of the party in the South. Of course, the leader of the South is Chief John Odege Onyegun. He leads, of course, he's been a long-time standing leader politically in the South. That is different from the party managers who occupy offices as I do. So Chief Oyegun, who is one of the founders of this idea of the coalition, hosted the meeting. And of course, Amechi came there and expressed his interest to run and requested that we, members of the party in the South-South, should give him the backing on account of the fact that it's our own. To cut a long story short, there was a call for voice vote, and there was a loud aye, and there was no dissenting nay voice. So if that implies anything, in the very, very pedestrian understanding, one would say, yes, the South-South has decided or agreed to support Amechi. This does not preclude anybody's independent thinking or mind to say, Amechi is not my candidate within the zone. Because there is no one aspirant in the political process that you will say will be denied of a vote in any part of the country, either as a state or a geopolitical region. So for now, that is the official position.
Okay. So the South-South, excuse me, is rooting for Amechi. I should ask you this question. What is the ADC's policy, or political calculations, if you like, regarding who gets the party's presidential ticket, North or South, Atiku Obi or Amechi? I mean, when you think about the fact that the North had 8 years, the South is on its 4 years at the current president. And then it's also expected that the South should, have another 4 years. So what's your calculation? What's the party's policy around this?
At present, we have a committee already working. It is a policy committee. And we also have a manifesto committee. We have a policy and manifesto committee. We also have the Constitution Review Committee. All of them are at work. I believe that as a member of the National Working Committee, when these committees conclude their works, they'll bring them to the table for us to look at, probably review, endorse, approve, or whatever step the party deems fit. So it will be premature for me to comment on that, because any comment I make ahead of the party's policy would be contra our expectations. And so, on a moral ground, your own observation, which is that the North has done 8 years and the South should do its own 8 years, probably I should assume that you're representing the public opinion.
Yeah, because it's not my opinion, basically. I mean, that's the talk. All
okay,
over when you
and
talk about political parties across
if that's the talk, the APC, God forbid.
That's the party you left.
I left it, of course. The ADC is actually a party that will reflect the common opinion of the people, because we do not want to be anti-democratic. So, and that will be demonstrated at the time the process of emergence of a candidate is actually propounded, initiated, and the guidelines released. So it is premature for me to talk about a specific position for the party.
Because I mean, that's the assumption or the talk across the entire nation for unity. So one wonders, that was why I was asking the question, what the ADC's policy or calculation is.
Yeah, even if I have my personal opinion.
Yeah, you can.
As an official of the party, I shouldn't speak ahead of the party's position. So I want to be sure that the chairman's position, which is a party promising openness and transparency, is the best I can say at this moment.
Okay, so let's get to the question of the party rejecting INEC's electoral timetable. For some, it's basically a no-brainer, consequence of the fact that there's an amended electoral law, and so it follows that a timetable should change. So it's a no-brainer for some. But your party is rejecting our next timetable. Why?
Well, let me tell you, it is beyond just the rejection of INEC timetable. Our party has chosen the path of sanctity in terms of policy and in terms of expectations of performance in governance. In Nigeria, I stand bold to say, given the privileges I've had in the governance structure of this country, that there is no policy process. It is just beyond elections. Normally, in a system that is sane with systemic values, we would expect that there is a procedure in making policies, not exclusive of electoral timetable. How long has it taken for people to contemplate and pass laws without public views entertained or even contemplated to arrive at what becomes an anathema in a means that is calculated to shut out certain interests and shortchange the people when there have been surreptitious preparations ahead of time because they hold the grounds of policy making. Therefore, they can come out and bamboozle the whole electorate of Nigeria and say they have shortened the timetable while you have been preparing ahead of time underground, only to look at it as if, okay, what is the hurry about in the first place? Because, excuse me.
Okay.
After all, whether you shorten the timetable or not, the date of inauguration of a new government comes at the same date. So why don't we also adjust that the person, whoever will win the election, should take effect by March instead of May 29th? So these are just deliberate methods to shortchange the system.
Yeah, you've raised quite some issues. Shortchange, surreptitious, something akin to the people who are not carried along. But there was public hearing. And when you say surreptitious, I'm wondering on whose side. Are you talking the National Assembly or the INEC?
You are speaking about different species of a certain animal kingdom. Whether it's the National Assembly or the INEC or the executive or a certain party called the APC, they are just different species of one class of animals.
So what invariably are you saying?
They are the same. They are all in cohort. That's exactly what I'm saying. You want to hear me clear?
You're
and let me even further convince you. You know that selecting somebody to govern Nigeria as a president is a more sensitive issue than a partisan party producing a candidate. We should understand this because within an internal structure of a party, you may select somebody who could or could not win. But getting somebody to govern Nigeria is a more elaborate thing that engages and also has effect on the total citizenry of the country. Now, if you take from EC8, for instance, and the law is that the endorsement or otherwise of party agents does not nullify the results. And then you come to internal selection of a candidate, and you say, if they say there's a consensus, then all the candidates must sign, suggesting that you choose internal processes of a party superior or more important and valuable than the entire electoral process that selects a president who governs the whole country. Does that make sense to you? It's a paradox. So you can then see the hand of the devil moving in a direction of darkness. And that is not our promise. You see, in Nigeria, unfortunately, brigand conduct is what is seen as strength. But it is timid. For civil culture, such attitudes, whether it is judicial violence, executive violence, legislative violence, is primitive.
Let me ask you this. With all that you've said, what would you have INEC do instead at this point in time?
What do I?
What would you have INEC do concerning the timetable at this point in time? What would you have, your party have INEC do?
We did not quarrel with the initial position that we met on ground as far as the law is concerned, concerning the timetable for elections.
Okay, so you
so
were...
the sudden...
Okay, so you were... What you're saying is that you agree with the timetable based on the 2022 electoral law. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, that's what one would have preferred.
Okay. So you're saying there was no need to tamper with the timetable,
of course,
even after the amended...
If they want, since they have decided to tamper with issues, they should also decide to tamper with the fact that just as we contest the elections, members of the National Assembly, members of the executive, all step down so there can be a free, fair, level playing ground at elections. So we know that we are honest as Nigerians.
Okay, so again, you would have wanted the status quo maintained 2022 timetable. And not this present one.
Of course, there's no present one because I don't think it is existing yet.
There's a present one. So I don't know. But okay, let's just push this a little bit further. At the same time that you're requesting they go back to 2022, you are mobilizing for membership registration ahead of 2027 polls. One, is it not late in the day? Two, if you're rejecting the timetable like you're positing here, why then mobilize for registration? It's for election, I guess.
No, it's not just for election.
Oh, well, part of.
We started registering members as soon as the inauguration of David Mark's executive was initiated. Now we suspended it.
Okay.
That suspension was on account of the fact that we needed to review and renew our materials so that the endorsement will carry the signatures of the new officials. And that is why we have what we call the membership mobilization, revalidation, and registration committee. In other words, the former registrations have to come and be revalidated. It is a continuous process in a political party. Even after the elections, people could wish to change and come into the party. You have seen even at the National Assembly, month after month, people are leaving one party to the other. It is not on inauguration of official registration process. The registers of parties are always open, probably only closed for a season to make sure that the tranquility of selection of candidates is sustained or maintained or obtained. But for registration, it is continuous. So it's not necessarily for election. However, to let you know that it is not late, if you go and open our portal and check, you will see within the few days of opening, the throng of mass registration that is taking place. What does it suggest to you? The Nigerians are waiting. You are also waiting.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you're saying. But one wonders what you're saying. What happened in the election? I just want to bring that in before I go to
ahead, yeah.
the FCT elections. I mean, ADC was nowhere to be found.
Yes. In Nigeria, there's a difference between winning an election and being declared. So you choose what took place in FCT.
Winning an election.
Winning an election meaning getting the proper required votes or conditions to be declared a winner. But to be declared a winner has more of under-carpet arrangements than you know or that I know.
Are you laying grounds for an excuse when, I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying, are you laying grounds for an excuse, maybe when 2027 comes and your party doesn't get the ticket, that these are the reasons why you couldn't win? Is it possible?
We are not laying such grounds. We are not laying such grounds. In fact, if we were to behave like them, by now we will be in the streets.
Who are them?
You know the propounders of evil concupiscence.
I don't know.
You don't know them?
That's why I brought you here to tell us.
The promulgators of the laws that are inimical to the Nigerian electorate.
Okay, Usani, at the Citizens Hall yesterday, I mean, there was a Citizens Town Hall meeting. Amopito assured that the commission is striving to deliver the best possible outcome come 2027. And of course, there are elections in Ekiti and all that. But he acknowledges that Nigeria might not achieve 100% perfect elections for now. You don't really have any 100% anywhere. I mean, maybe 99.9, 99%, maybe 98.9. Do you agree with? Do you agree with this assurance from the INEC chairman?
Well, so far we will have to examine that statement in the context of the prevailing litmus tests that are taking place and are to take place soon by off-cycle elections. Yeah. But to be able to give that assessment, a conclusive remark will be to wait and see how his conduct compares with Henry Nwosu's conduct as the former chairman of the National Electoral Commission.
Henry Nwosu was A4.
Yes, because so far in Nigeria...
But we're not doing A4. We're not doing A4.
Well,
no,
whether it's A4 or not A4, the hallmark is that people vote.
Yeah.
And their votes count.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate. So whether it's A4 or A3
Votes
or
are counted and must count.
Exactly. So let us wait and see that conduct comparing with Henry Nwosu's overseeing role in the election that took place in 1994.
So for you, the model is Henry Nwosu. You bypassed all the other electoral
So
officers.
far,
You had Jega, you had
you have
Mahmoud.
You have comparative indices. So I'm not saying others are all condemned, but some of them are terribly bad. Like the one that installed what we have now. You bear with me that it was terribly bad. But so far, in comparative terms,
that's of course, that's your opinion, of course.
That's my opinion, of course. In comparative terms, Henry Nwosu stands out.
Oh, well, Nigerians wouldn't debate that because, I mean, he brought forth one of the best elections, most credible elections we had that elected late Abiola,
Thank you for recognizing that fact.
Of course, every Nigerian accepted that then. I mean, that was the best election we ever really did have. Well, he further declared that technical glitches would not derail the 2027 election. I mean, that's fantastic.
And I wish he would not succumb to undue pressures. Yes. The pronouncement is good, but when the heat comes, I hope he will damn the consequences, including forgoing that position. Because, you see, in the days that we grew up and went to school, when you hear a man hold the title of a professor, it was near reverence. But today, professors are messengers to touts. And that is why somebody who enjoys a political patronage and by fortune of default becomes a candidate or a senator or whatever thing, you find a professor going to run errands for such a person.
He has also said, in terms of talking about glitches, glitches to be eliminated by, well, added by God's grace, he said there will be mock presidential election to stress test the transmission architecture. Does this give you confidence in the umpire's capacity and ability to deliver? I mean, yeah, test should be carried out.
If that statement has to be taken seriously, we should be able to interrogate the role of his commission in the electoral law that has just been passed. Did they submit a bill, and what was the content of their bill? Because if they submitted a bill that would would expressly narrow down and concentrate and determine exclusively for electronic transmission on real time, then one would want to believe that statement.
Nobody has said that Nigerians can transmit electronically. He has said that.
Yeah, can does not mean will. Can is a probability. But will is a certain form of assurance. But then, having said what they have said, putting parallel dialectics of transmission of election results, manual and this and that one, can you tell me any part of the country where you don't send money by electronic transmission?
Yeah, who said that? I mean,
many people have said that. And so far, the registration portal of the ADC that is taking place, people are registering from everywhere. And we have not found anybody complain that I'm not able to register because it's electronic registration process. So you find that the fabric of lying and deceit is embedded in the process of those who make the laws for Nigerians. But they think they are exempt from the consequences. They are not. They are not.
What do you mean?
Because if human beings don't judge you, God will judge you. And if God doesn't judge you, your conscience will judge you.
Well, some people, I mean, you've heard about consciences being seared. Some people's consciences are seared.
You can now confirm that by what you're attesting to.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah, some people's conscience is seared.
I've not called anybody.
No, exactly, you haven't. That is exactly confirming that when I talked about the evil people designing and planning, it is such people, shamelessly. People who don't even deserve to be clerks in offices are today making laws for Nigerians.
Before I begin to let you go, there's a serious challenge that, apart from the challenges I've mentioned of your party, that the country has. Even in the last election, it was experienced voter apathy. The part that the electorate should play in the elections. And I had a lady here who also blamed the party And there was a second group he blamed for not doing enough education for people to come out and carry out that singular civic responsibility, in a democracy.
Let me take it from two perspectives. The first one is that voter apathy, whether you're in government or outside, should worry us. Because beyond this point, Nigerians will seek self-help. And that will amount to collapse of the country.
Which we don't pray for.
Which we shouldn't pray for. Now, if we think because we are prevailing, then voter apathy gives us advantage because there's nobody to watch us and then we do what we like, we should wait for the day when people will say, enough is enough. On a second note, if we look at what is going on in terms of people always blaming the opposition and so on, the politicians have less blame than the people who are the general electorate, who form the general electorate. The reason is because the politicians of the top belong to a certain social class. And you don't expect them to be more egged by the suffering of the land than you who cannot have a meal a day. So the populace is supposed to consciously take actions in terms of coming out to vote and to protect their votes, and any other alternative action that will make sure it guarantees good governance.
Honorable Usani, you belong to that class. Anyway, thank you for being, I must tell you that because you belong to the political class. You know that.
I do, but I don't have the conscience of the political class in Nigeria.
Well, I don't know how.
I stand different.
Well, I agree with that. Assistant National Chairman of the African Democratic Congress, Honorable Usani. Thank you so much for your time on Prime Time.